It's just exclamation point set title, all one word, and then space, and then the title that you want.
Hi guys, welcome to this evening's stream. We've been watching this for the last few minutes whilst we've been getting set up, but the 1DQ1-A IHUB and Sinojammer are under attack by PAPI forces. So hopefully we can see some lovely fights developing. Tie-dye is at maximum and there's over 3,300 people in the system already. I'm joined in channel by McLeod, who's also able to provide us with some intel and hopefully information, as well as Caleb and Metal, who is currently away but will be back shortly.
Is this real news?
Well, it's really happening.
Interesting.
I don't know why, Caleb, but like the way that you said that, I thought it reminded me of that that meme of that kid in the back of the car going, "Is this real life?"
That's a very fitting comparison, to be honest, because that's pretty much how I feel. So what are we expecting to actually see happening?
Well, jammers need to go down for PAPI to bring in sort of the large toys, as it were. So they're probably concentrating on that right now. Obviously, the iHub needs to get reinforced, I believe, for them to not be able, for Imperium to not be able to just drop more jammers and try and online them in different ways. So I think that's the order of the day. And then after that, I'm not sure.
I think even with the IHUB reinforced, the upgrades and stuff still take effect. So it's only so they can online one of the existing jammers. However, there is a cycle time of that jammer onlining, which is more than enough for PAPI to begin opening sinos. And we are seeing the jammer both being attacked, as well as multiple fleets now converging on the Imperium battleship fleet that was on the Fortizar. Imperium having the home field advantage here because they have capitals in system. For PAPI to bring in caps, they either have to destroy the jammer and sino them in, or take them through the Stargate, which I can imagine is heavily bubbled at the moment, as it has been previously for the last, or at least the last 2 weeks, it has been bubbled heavily.
Of course, bubbles can be shot, and ships that bubble can also be shot and destroyed as well. So you can't guarantee that a particular route in is going to be completely bubbled, permanently. Um, you know, when facing huge amounts of player involvement.
Yeah, with over 3,300 people in the system, it's hard to tell exactly what's happening outside of this grid because there's all manner of sort of things that can happen at this level of player count. But we are seeing that Goonswarm is currently making progress. They have been able to kill or ward off all the Intostituses so far.
So, Mac, how much faith do we have in the servers today?
I don't know. In terms of the CCP servers,
Yeah, will they survive if this escalates?
I think they would.
Yeah, I mean,
CCP's done a remarkable job in terms of being able to keep the servers stable, over the recent fights, and they've had enough fights to be able to really drill down and diagnose, how their servers are performing in massive fights. So, and they've also had the time to be able to, to go through it with a fine tooth comb and see if there's any additional points of pressure that they need to relieve.
yeah, as well as I believe the 1DQ node and the PAPI forward staging of T5Z has also been put on dedicated nodes just because of the effect this war's been having. So I think this server's gonna cope pretty well. Like McLeod said, they've done a lot of work in the background to ensure this war's as fun for everyone involved as possible.
A very short, unrelated question, Mac, and whoever can answer it, because I've been a little bit out of the loop. Am I right in seeing that Dunk Dinkle finally got his salvage drone thingies?
He did. He even got a faction drone named after him.
So has he been running rounds, cheering like a crazy person?
I'm not sure. I think he's been measured and stoic. I think it's a case of because it's just on Singularity, it's not on Tranquility yet. He's biding his time until it's actually on Tranquility.
Yeah, until it was on TQ, I would say have some reservation because anything's likely to change once it's on the test servers. Here we can just see the Imperium Abaddon fleet, which is currently doing damage to the Eagle fleets from PAPI. And in the background, we can just see the Test Alliance have their own Eagle fleet, still currently attacking this jammer, trying to get in to reinforce as quickly as possible. Also on the side for the Imperium, we have their Rogue fleet. That off at range, firing on to the side with plenty of FAC support for both fleets here, using their home field advantage quite wisely and considerably. So a question that's popped up in chat is, why does Test need to take down the jammer? It's not so much to bring in more resupplies, because obviously they are staged just next door, but it allows the opportunity to escalate these fights, to be able to silo in dreadnoughts to deal with any faxes, or even go possibly further in the escalation to supers and titans. But nothing can happen whilst the jammer's online, because Imperium have their capitals in here, whereas Tesla would have to gate them through, which is risky and takes a considerable amount of time. And here we can see some Imperium dreadnoughts, or initiative dreadnoughts in fact as well, now entering the field. Interestingly, these are capital gunned dreadnoughts, they're not high angle. Let's see if I can get some D-scan information. As well as we'll have a look and see if we can get some local info as well, and see what numbers we're looking at here. In the chat, first off, we have the local scan. Give it again. So we can see from just local, obviously Imperium do live here, so they could have. We don't know what pilots are undocked until we have the D-scan finish, but we can see the attacking forces there: 390 from Pandemic Horde, 300 from Test Alliance, 222 from NC Dot. So the attacking forces are probably getting close to around about 1,000 in numbers. Obviously, we don't know what Imperium have on field at the moment. So currently, PAPI is aggressing in 1DQ. They was intosising the IHUB, that has since stopped because the intosisers have been either destroyed or scared off of their intosis. Test Alliance are currently reinforcing the Sino jammer from the Imperium, as well as obviously we can see here this fleet engagement is ongoing between Imperium Abaddon fleet and a Roke fleet versus the PAPI forces in their Eagle, and I believe there will be a Muning fleet in here somewhere as well, possibly, but they may all just be Eagles. With tied out maximum, I think this is, well, could have the possibility of settling for quite a long fight. especially with the attacking objective. So, but time will tell, and we can see whether Imperium are able to defend their IHUB, or whether PAPI do end up reinforcing it. Now, reinforcing it won't stop Imperium from anchoring more Sun Jammers and onlining them, but it will present a final timer where there are nodes that will be outside of 1DQ as well that need to be Intosis to destroy. Okay, so D-scan finished. Let's see if we can get a D-scan into the chat. Okay, so in chat there's the D-scan that we're seeing. So there is over 500 Eagles in system, 563 Eagles, 274 Munins, 200 Serbs. There's 14 Force Auxiliaries in system at the moment. Obviously, I believe these are all Imperium, because obviously they've had them docked in here for a while now. One interesting thing to note, unlike timers for structures, it seems like the IHUB timer is actually tied to the tie-dye of the system, because that counter is going down very slowly. So Gummy says in chat that can't Imperium just anchor another jammer? They can indeed. Until the IHUB's destroyed, they have the ability to anchor jammers. However, because one is currently under attack, if that gets reinforced, then it takes time to turn on the Cyno jammer. I'm not entirely sure on the length itself, but that is an open window for Cynos to be lit and allow capitals and other things to enter the system. So it's that small window could be what PAPI is trying to achieve here. So we're beginning to see a PAPI pilot here, belonging to IRC, is trying to Entosis the IHUB again. So the Imperium have been removed from around the IHUB. So currently that Entosis pilot hopefully will be able to begin attacking and reinforcing this IHUB. And there is still some test pilots up by the Signer jammer, currently keeping that paused and slowly reinforcing it. Yeah. So if you've just tuned in and you're not sure what it's saying here, PAPI, who is blue on this overview, is currently attempting to reinforce the IHUB as well as reinforce the IHUB. Sorry, not the IHUB, the Signer jam at the top of the screen. At the moment, Imperium have managed to thwart off the PAPI intercessors. However, they are beginning to recycle, and the Signer jam is still currently being reinforced. But there is still an ongoing fight at the bottom of the screen here. Yeah, we can just see another Imperium fax is whooping in from their Keepstar cluster. Have a look in and get a better view of the fighting going on. Currently, a large amount of these bubbles are interdictor and heavy interdictor bubbles. They're placed up around the fleets for varying reasons. Here we're going to see the Imperium Abaddon fleet on the left, their Munin fleet at the top, and the PAPI Basilisk, which is currently being primaried. We see the the Imperium faxes trying to keep all their pilots alive, kept up.
So really amazing footage here. Reminds me of, with that station in the background, the Dominion trailer.
Yes, I do have a warm spot in my heart for the Draconis Fortizar because it was one of the first 0-0 stations I ever lived in, and it is a beautiful thing in the trailer. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up seeing Titans in this fight. It's hard to say. Be a real reenactment of Dominion.
Yeah, right. Two avatars coming in and saying, well, what did they say at the end in Russian?
This is our system.
You say something like "wipe them all out," or
yeah.
So from my understanding, we got word 1800 there was a forum up of PAPI that was going to protect the onlining of a Keepstar, and that was in Aquarius, but it was considered one of the choke points to the south, so it goes to period basis. And Goon Swarm or the Imperium didn't form up for that because they would probably just stand down. There was too many people forming up. It was 2,000 PAPI fighters formed up to defend that onlining. And what happened was, without a form up on the Imperium side, they took the opportunity to jump into 1DQ, which is a very interesting move. You don't usually get a form up of 2,000 people without a counter reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But because there was the excuse of the Keepstar, that led to the excuse, which is a very interesting move on PAPI's part.
Yeah, the Keepstar that's anchored is in what is considered Fake Delve from a Quirius point of view. It is a Quirius constellation, however, it is surrounded by Delve systems, so there is no Quirius to Quirius connection to these constellations. So it's a very odd section of space that was generated all those years ago when Eve was first created. So it was anchored in one of those, and Matt was said it's a nice point for the south. But we did just see here, we've seen these dreadnoughts are firing. They're not using anti-cap guns; they're using capital guns. So they could very well be very high tracking fit, and obviously that with them at long range, they may be able to get a hit or two on the sub-capitals of PAPI, and being dreadnought guns, they will do incredible amounts of damage.
Yeah. At long range, it's very interesting because when something's close to you and orbiting you, it's moving so fast your guns can't track it. But when something is far away, it moves a lot slower in relationship to you, therefore easier to hit. Also, that system in the south where the Keepstar just was installed and online was QY1-E.
So for the IHUB, we are still seeing that Imperium is making progress. 3 minutes and 8 seconds to go. But with this timer affected by tie-dye, it's going to last longer than 3 minutes real time.
So, as I was saying, this is something of a surprise attack. PAPI able to form 2,000 pilots with a narrative reason, the Keepstar, and then use that same force to do a surprise attack on 1DQ. Imperium scrambled. I think they pinged 5 to 7 times to get in fleet, get in fleet, get in fleet. And so you're seeing really a rush form up for the Imperium, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. They formed up within minutes.
Yeah, it was a very rushed thing. I don't think they expected this attack. And obviously they have mobilised very well with their home field advantage. So they've got battleships in position as well as dreadnoughts and force auxiliaries. So they have managed to get a considerable force on field to try and disrupt PAPI as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's also one of the advantages of having infrastructure favor you. You're able to jump into the system or get to the system because you have a jump bridge to it. You're able to strategically position yourself to defend it better. But if the IHUB doesn't survive, then a lot of that infrastructure is put into jeopardy.
Yeah. I believe as well, even if the IHUB is subsequently destroyed in the next engagement, if it is reinforced in this fleet, the Imperium forces will still be able to do a incredible counter-attack because obviously this is their home system. So I imagine if PAPI does manage to successfully reinforce it and destroy it over the subsequent few days, then there will be a big push on defense of this IHUB.
Sure. I think, yeah, there'll be a massive fight for the IHUB. And even if they lose that one, it would be interesting to see if the IHUBs keep going back and forth in this area. Again, they have so many structures, citadels, keepstars in this system that it won't be like, what was it, F9, where they lost the Fortizar and therefore lost a platform to counterattack or to attack when PAPI had installed the Keepstar.
This system is, it is, if not one of the most defended systems in EVE with the amount of structures here. I believe there's over 5 Keepstars themselves, over 24 Fortizars. So it is a very well defended system.
Where do you think those blue PAPI guys are going?
I think they're either regrouping for another wave of attack or they're going to regroup and focus on something different. They was getting quite spread out over the grid, and I believe with the Imperium dreadnoughts as well as the battleship fleets and force auxiliaries, it's breaking through the Imperium numbers with their heavily tanked battleships, which are the Evadens, is proving difficult. The Imperium fleet is still very mobile as normal. I think there was a struggling slightly to break through. So I believe they'll be moving to reposition or regroup. We can see currently there is still the Intosisa that was ongoing earlier has since been stopped, and so subsequently the timer is just currently on the Imperium.
chatters want to know if the fight is over in your estimation.
I don't believe the fight will be over. No, it would be very odd for the fight to have ended just like this. There's both sides still have a large amount of force available, but we'll have to see what the PAPI forces are deciding, whether they are going to regroup and go for another attack on a different target. Maybe, for example, with these dreadnoughts being long-range gun fit, maybe they will be able to go down and begin putting pressure on the dreadnoughts.
What is the jammer situation in this system?
It is still cyano-jammed. The jammer itself is roughly at about 14-15%. It has been paused up by a small number of ships for the duration of the battle down at the bottom.
Can there be more than one jammer in system?
So there can be up to 3 cyanosaur jammers anchored at once. However, only one of them can be activated. So we're seeing, so we'll have a look up here at the top of the screen. So we have this cyano jammer here, which is called the Fun Prevention Widget, which is quite a nice name. I do approve of the name.
Yeah, that's great.
However, anchored also, they have another cyano jammer off over there, as well as their third cyano jammer off towards their main Keepstar cluster. So they have all 3 jammers anchored. This is the only online jammer. You can see with this cyano jammer, it is currently low power, which means that it can be destroyed in one attack. However, if this cyano jammer is reinforced, they only have to simply power on another cyano jammer to resume the system jamming. But that power on takes, I believe it's 5 minutes, chat said earlier. I'm unable to tell if PAPI are shooting the one in the Keepstar cluster. However, I can say that they are not shooting both of these on this grid. They're only shooting one of them. But the 5-minute lapse in jammed state may be enough for PAPI to bring in any forces they need to into the system, as well as if they're planning on bringing in dreadnoughts or subsequent capitals. I'm not sure on their plans. I don't have any intel on what's going to be coming in. But we can see here the groups are beginning to reform over on the cyano jammer. So I think the PAPI plan may be to reinforce this jammer, get it offline to possibly look to bring in something to deal with the capitals that Imperium have, their force auxiliaries and their dreadnoughts. But we'll have to wait and see. We are also now seeing some super capitals from the Imperium being undocked on this Keepstar. They're currently still obviously tethered, as was the effect, but they are now present. And with this grid being as close as it is, they will be able to use fighters at long range if needed. Obviously, it does make them vulnerable to attack, but with them being inside the docking area of a Keepstar, it would be quite a risky attack to ever attack one of them, especially during this engagement. So here we can see all the fleets are currently attacking the Sana jammer. So Yaman D asked in the chat, does the Sana jammer have the same reinforcement steps like Keystar? It does not. So when you attack a Sana jammer, you attack its shield and I believe its armor as well, and then it enters a single reinforced state. Obviously, the jammer then is offline and in reinforce. It is not possible to kill these in one attempt. However, the low power Sana jammers in the system, if they are attacked, they can be killed outright. However, PAPI, I believe their plan is to destroy the jammer and allow them to bring in capital assets with ease.
Want to direct you guys that are watching here, if you don't know Talking in Stations, subscribe to us, or even better, give us your Prime sub, if that's what that is. And also know that we put out a newspaper every weekday in EVE Online, so you don't have to come to us, we'll come to you. You can see there the instructions on how to get it in chat.
Yeah, I do enjoy the newspaper because being an EU time zone player, it arrives just at the point where I'm beginning to wake up, sit down, log on my work laptop, begin work, and then get a lovely mail notification with the news. I'm like, oh, can keep informed of everything.
But if you can't see the client, we also have talkinginstations.com, and that is also an expanded news service. You can see it on your mobile phone. Look at that bubble grow.
Yeah, that's the command burst effect coming from the PAPI fleets. With obviously tie-dye, you do see them begin to grow, and you see the little spherical points begin to come out.
Like Chivader here says, cool, I can see my bubble right in the middle of the screen. It's like saying, I can see my house from here.
I believe if there's some Imperium people viewing, they could in theory say that because their house is just down there.
That's right. It actually is their house down there. It's funny, the newspaper comes out right at your morning time because I'm at the very end of the day before I go to sleep writing up all the news and publishing it. So my late night is your morning.
Yeah, it's the perfect newspaper for all EU players. It really is.
So in the narrative of the war, from beginning July 4th or 5th to now, this is a significant event. But it is a surprise attack. And I think if it doesn't work, you may see PAPI saying that it was just an opportunity, a target of opportunity. We had the people assembled. We thought, what the heck, let's just try it. But if it goes well and they do take it, it will be a significant surprise attack with some ramifications for the near future.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the Imperium can look at how fast they form to defend this, and if they are successful, that is a sign of just how strong and ready they are, whether they're doing big ops that are scheduled or not. They are in heightened state of alert constantly, and they are ready, clearly by their performance here so far.
Yeah, it's be very interesting attack if Imperium are able to defend it. Then obviously, there will end up being spin. There's always, unfortunately, spin during these events. But
well,
with
it won't be
being
spin if they win. It'll be a victory they can take a lap with, I think.
But I think Imperium have done very well to form up. We are seeing there the final moments of the first attempt at the IHUB is within a few moments. Well, a few moments in tie-dye time, beginning to buckle down, whilst obviously PAPI forces here are focusing on the Sana Jammer. We are seeing some PAPI forces heading towards the Keepstar cluster, but I'm not quite sure what their objective is over there.
That's a lot of different fleets out there.
I believe
do a
there is
recap.
7.
When you get a chance. 7 fleets, wow. So let's do a recap of what happened this morning. Slade, do you want to do it or should I? Either way.
You go ahead.
So early this morning at 1800, PAPI assembled 2,000 fighters to help a Keepstar online. It was put down yesterday, and it was onlining today. And that was in a system in Aquarius that is just outside of Delve. The Imperium didn't form for it. Instead, they took a pass, which allowed PAPI to take a look at 1DQ and say, well, we have 2,000 people. Let's go raid 1DQ. And that may have caught Imperium off guard. So these fleets were able to get into 1DQ and start going after some of the infrastructure there. And you saw them attack Sino jammers, and also attack the IHUB. I think their victory condition is to take down some of those jammers. If the jammers come down, that allows anyone, whether it be the Imperium or PAPI, to jump in capitals, and that is the way you would go for an escalation path, which means you could bring in heavier and heavier ships. And the IHUB, of course, is the infrastructure for the entire system. If you take that down, you start to dismantle the infrastructure in there. So the fleets came in. There's, you said 7 fleets, was that? Sully, were there 7 PAPI fleets that came in, you said? Did I lose my audio or did... Oh, you're muted. Okay, sorry. Didn't see you were away. I think there are 7 fleets. I think there's at least 2 test fleets in there. The Imperium formed up quickly. They did a scramble form up, or a rush form, and they brought in some dreadnoughts, and the fight has ensued. It looks like the IHUB will survive this attack, I think. And I can't see through the screen yet, but apparently we're seeing some bomber action. Let's have a look. I don't see them on the screen that we have right now. So that's your recap. It's an attack on 1DQ. Try to take out the infrastructure hub. Try to take out the Sino jammers.
Oh, we're just seeing here an Imperium bombing run, attempted to catch out these Pandemic Horde Eagles. Now we're seeing here Pandemic Horde trying to focus fire on these Eagles as quick as possible. Not the Eagles, on the bombers. With bombers in Eve, if they die before their bomb explodes, they do 0 damage. That's why you see them. The strategy is just to try and kill them as quickly as possible. If you're unable to
Look.
leave, it is just literally kill them as quickly as possible.
Look at that incoming fire. It's amazing. Look at all those lines going to those targets. That is amazing counterattack. This is a very exciting moment. Will those bombs explode before these bombers? As they're exploding bombers there, this will nullify their bombs. Their bombs are still flying in the middle of that horde fleet.
Yeah, I believe a few of the bombs would have been able to detonate with the damage. However, it requires a significant number to kill these eagles. So, very good attempt from Imperium and very well defended against from the PAPI side.
Oh wow! It looks like that bomber fleet is not warping away, so they are disappearing because they're exploding. There's a ton of incoming fire to those bombers, and you can see the bombs slowly moving into position in the horde area to detonate, and it's a race against time. This is really interesting.
Yeah. So we can see here just the last few bombers are, or in fact there are more bombers just decloaking and continuing to fire.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That's a big bombing wave.
As Savak said in chat, bombing under heavy tie-dye is incredibly difficult. It takes a good pilot to be able to execute a good bombing run in heavy tie-dye. It's that next level. I know I personally couldn't do it.
I think we're seeing an interdictor or a dictor jump in the middle of them. You see that neutral party there? Flew right in the middle.
Yeah, the Malediction is Headhunter Jax. He's here you see he's well known for flying an interceptor with a burst jammer to try and get on as many kill mails as possible. He's been present throughout the war. He is a very interested third party, to say the least. He's not for either side. He just likes getting kill mails.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, he got there before the Sabres did, but now you see Sabres lighting up, trying to capture the bombers so they don't escape. This will seal their fate.
Yeah, I mean, as we're seeing that purifier there from VDOC1, decloaked.
It looks like that bomber on the right-hand side there looks like he launched his bomb in the wrong direction. He was probably pointed in the wrong direction trying to get out when he fired his bomb.
Yeah.
It's going errant to the right.
So either that or he's a very valiant attempt at a spy, because that bomb is going towards the jammer.
Oh, really?
But he's already dead. We can see that his icon disappeared, so that bomb is just going to explode with 0 damage.
He shot it at the timer. Well. So this looks like the counterattack was strong enough to nullify the bombs. I didn't see any explosions up in the Horde fleet.
So we're just watching this unfortunate purifier whose fate was sealed by the Sabre, and he is now primaried by a lot of PAPI forces. He's not even attempting to move, he just accepted his fate.
His ship is just searing under the pressure. I think there's a Sabre flying by.
Yeah, the victorious Sabre pilot who was able to bubble them in.
They look like barracudas, right? Like they're intimidating.
So, mention in chat from NTN_games, CCP can't reinforce the node on last line. No, it is a problem. Nodes are tied to core, a single core. So in order to reinforce the node to move to a more powerful computer core, they will have to offline it. And obviously in some situations, offlining a node during the middle of a fight, where we've seen systems crash and things like that, has proved to completely abrupt the flow. But because one side can either choose to log in certain assets or not log in certain assets, and they are considered safe.
By the way, CCP Convict weighing in saying this system is reinforced.
I believe these nodes have been reinforced for a considerable time now. With the events we've had previous in the war, I think CCP made the decision to put these on reinforced nodes, both this system as well as the PAPI staging system, so both sides have equal one. But yeah.
That was pretty exciting. That bombing run would have been pretty devastating because it was on target, and there was a lot of people there. So that counterattack to nullify the bombing run, I don't think I've ever seen that streamed like that. That was amazing.
Yeah, this one of the joyous parts of being at 22% tie-dye is I've said previously in Keepstar streams, one thing I really do enjoy watching is the shield effect of some ships. You can actually see when the shields start to get low enough, they start to change colour from blue to red, and then the shields fail. Something that you rarely see in real-time EVE, because more often these fights it will be the ship dies in 2 to 3 seconds, whereas here it lasts 30 to 60 seconds. We are seeing now the jammer has entered its armour, so that's why the timer has gone back up to 15 minutes. So PAPI is halfway into destroying this reinforcing this Sano jammer. They have made it through the 1 million shields. They now just have to burn through the same amount of armour of 1 million.
Again, the objective here, this is the first part of the objective. Take out that jammer. Can you re-explain why that's important?
So, with the Sano jammer active, there is no ability for a Sano Silver field in this system. It is completely disabled. Only covert Sinos are allowed. With this jammer reinforced, the system no longer has that Sano Silver protection. So it allows PAPI forces and Imperium forces to light subsequent Sinos. Imperium are able to online another jammer, however that does take a period of I believe 5 minutes. So the system is considered open for those 5 minutes. So we're seeing here with the fighting between the fleets pretty much grinding to a halt, where the Imperium forces are currently protecting the IHUB, which, for those wondering, the timer has since ticked over to the Imperium. So it was the initial attack has been defended successfully. It is, however, still vulnerable for the next 1 hour and 19 minutes. And we are seeing here the 4 PAPI fleets currently around this Sano jammer attacking it.
Yeah, there's, as Blondie says, or Bloody, there's more than one jammer in system, but you can only have one lit up at one time. So there's at least 1 or 2 at least on standby, but those can be destroyed quickly.
Correct, yeah. So there is a further 2 Sano jammers in addition to one that's currently being attacked. If all 3 of them, however, are placed into reinforce, then no more Sano jammers can be anchored. And the system would then be subsequently wide open. So we're seeing the Pandemic Horde destroyer and assault frigate fleet heading towards the Keepstar cluster for the Imperium. Depending on the fleet movements, we may end up moving the camera over to that position and see what goes on.
One of the things I like about tie-dye is the game slowing down. Basically, this is bullet time in EVE. Is that you can see the tactics really unfold. Sometimes it takes a minute to figure out what the FC is up to, but with when you slow it down and you're able to like analyze the situation, you have that time to think. Not being an FC, you have to think about what they're doing, what their objective is, and it's really interesting to see the play and the counterplay at work.
Yeah, it's
Such a complicated game in combat too.
it lets you appreciate some of the stress and the work these FCs put in. Just because it's not, they have to do this obviously not during tie day in the regular fleets, and they have to do this in near real time. I know some of the Imperium FCs who were able to both lead a fleet FCing, collaborate with their sister fleets out, whilst also maintaining a probe window and keeping probe signatures up to date for warp-ins, whilst also maintaining where his fleet is going and what his fleet is currently doing. There are some very talented people who are able to FC this game. But we're seeing here some PAPI forces are heading towards the Imperium cluster, the Keepstar cluster, so we might head over there shortly.
Is that a target of opportunity that presented itself, or what reason would they have for that?
I don't know. Let's have a wonder.
Certainly sending a lot of people there. Yeah, and FCs are not all built the same. There are some FCs who specialize in different layers of FCing, and so when you talk to a Vili, for instance, or a Headliner, or a Vince Draken, or an Asher, or any of those guys, these are block level FCs, and so these guys are capable of commanding multiple fleets at the same time and coordinating among other block level FCs. And that's what takes place in these big fights is you have multiple FCs coordinating. Pro God Legends in that list. There's a bunch of FCs that are block level that you've heard of. Those are the more or less famous FCs.
I believe I remember when I was in the CFC many years ago, Mr. V was at one point coordinating 6 different fleets whilst being cloaked on grid, and he was just giving commands to the FCs who would then relay it down, coordinating target attacks, whilst he himself didn't have a single target locked and was 100 kilometers away from every fleet. Yeah, there are some far more talented people playing this game than myself, that is for sure. So here we're just seeing the Keepstar cluster, as I've been calling it today, because it's struggling to find another name for this main defense that Imperium have here.
What is that? I'll let you focus on getting it. I won't distract you right now, but oh, there's a gate in the middle of that. So
yeah, I'll just quickly get the camera moving off to the side once I exit my warp. We can see the PAPI forces are beginning to congregate around the T5Z Stargate. That is where PAPI is currently staging, is the system next door.
do you think that's an effort to control the gate and maybe gate in some capitals?
I'm not too sure. They have obviously stopped attacking the Sun and Soil Jammer. We also do see Imperium having undocked some super capitals and some carriers. But we are seeing carriers beginning to warp away. So that is an Imperium Titan fleet right there.
Yeah. Wow. Significant. Well, capitals coming through that gate would be doomed, I assume. It's a lot of hardware here.
Yeah, that is a significant number of supers and titans.
Well, the Knicks finally look like they're taking up the space they deserve. I do lament that you can't have 2, maybe 3 super capital ships running with a subcap group in EVE Online, just because of the escalation paths and the N+1 numbers advantage. If you ever ran with a small number of super capitals, they would get tackled and everybody would call everybody else and they would get killed. So there's really no way to use 2 or 3 at the same time. But they can't really take up their majestic position as set pieces in the game as it is, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So here we are seeing, I've just put a D-scan in, currently in 1 AU of this Keepstar cluster, we are seeing 43 Archons, 41 Nixes, and 40 Avatars. In total, that is 78 super carriers, 77 carriers, and 65 Titans.
That's an immense amount of hardware.
That is a very considerable amount of threat that the Imperium have just undocked. Obviously, we have already seen some carriers begin to warp up towards the Sinojammer. So we'll have to see what the PAPI forces have planned for this. But interestingly enough, this Hell pilot is not tethered. I'm wondering, could there be fighters in space? So, at the risk of a crashed client, let's have a look at the overview. Show all brackets isn't really being too revealing, so he may just have a target locked. Here we are seeing a large amount of wrecks from the Imperium. These are advanced destroyers wrecks, so this is a Jackdaw fleet from the Imperium that looks to have been attacked here. Here we are seeing more and more PAPI forces beginning to regroup on the Stargate.
Could they be making their way out? Is this the end of the fight?
I'm unsure. It could well be they've decided to withdraw from the attack. Not too sure, to be honest.
We'll know in a moment.
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to escort any capitals in with the super capital fleet sitting right there.
Correct, yeah. I believe this may end up being a withdrawal. So, at the moment it stands that the Sinojammer from Imperium has not been reinforced and it was stopped, as well as the IHUB itself was also kept safe and secure.
Right. So you're watching Talking in Stations. I am Matterall. Here with Sully. Sully is engineering and showing you around the battlefield and explaining the tactics. For more Talking in Stations, our shows are posted daily to youtube.com/talkinginstations. And we have an in-game newsletter. We call it our newspaper. You can check that out. I've just given instructions in the chat here. You would open your client once you're in the game, open up your mail window, and bottom left is a button called Add Mailing List. If you click that, you can add a mailing list, and that's where our newspaper is. So when you click that, add TIS News, and every weekday you'll get a summary of today's news.
Yeah. So we are beginning to see here the PAPI forces are now leaving local, and they are indeed jumping out of system. So the Stargate is beginning to catapult them into the next system.
They are living right next door, so this makes this whole area very tense. It was a good try by PAPI. It looks like they're not going to get their objectives, which I'm sure was to take out at least the Sino jammer, or to reinforce the IHUB would have been better. Both those were prevented by a fast-forming goon and Imperium fleet.
Yeah.
They were able to defend the system quickly and in a very strong way.
Yeah, I think not only was the Imperium's defense very well, obviously they have successfully defended both the IHUB and the jammer, but they also managed to do so at short notice, with it being a rapid form up. So they have done very well, and it was a very good use of tactics. I do personally like the long range dreadnoughts with their tracking fits. That was a unexpected tactic I didn't foresee, because when I saw the dreadnoughts warping in, I was convinced they'd be warping into the centre and kind of be Hor gun fit, try and do as much damage as possible, but they won up to my expectations and long range tracking, and looks to have done significant damage. So here we're just seeing the gate shotgunning, as chat has put it, people out of the system into T5. So PAPI is now withdrawing from 1DQ back to T5.
Looks like Christmas lights. Every one of those little bulbs there is a ship leaving.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to catch stragglers with bubbles.
Yeah, so Imperium will be subsequently deploying scan and probes, trying to catch stragglers throughout the system. Yeah, we'll likely see some heightened activity in this area for the next few hours at the very least. So currently, due to the amount of players leaving the system, tie-dye is at maximum. But that's just because of the amount of pilots trying to leave system. It just naturally causes a large amount of connections.
Yeah, every one of those pilots has skills that influences modules, which influences ships, and so all those calculations and modifiers are applied per character. And when they come and go from system, that's when a lot of those calculations are done.
Here we are seeing an Imperium Cerberus fleet has just landed onto the Stargate with bubbles. That will be an attempt to kill anyone who is not in a position to leave with the rest of the PAPI forces.
Yeah, you see a trail of bodies there behind the bubbles. It looks like floating in space.
I believe that was from a prior engagement with Jackdaw fleet from Imperium, as well as a Union or Eagle fleet from this Alliance.
I think more than anything else in the game, the adding of the little icon for a man floating in space has put everything into proportion. And I think it was one of the most brilliant little advances that nobody really took notice of. But once you see a little body floating in space, you realize how big your cruiser is, and then how big a battleship is.
Unfortunately, I'm too far away for the camera to really pick up the distinct detail for the body.
Yeah. Again, we're looking at the capital system of the Imperium, defended by the Imperium. short notice as PAPI did something of a surprise attack trying to take out the infrastructure hubs.
Yeah. So we are just seeing now the last few fleets trying to leave the system, which currently is Pandemic Horde as well as Blades of Grass. Just holding out until the very end.
Blades of Grass. Blades of Grass is actually an offshoot of Lawn, and you can see the relationship in the names. But the people who founded Lawn were there was a leadership coup, and they were displaced, so they went on to form Blades of Grass.
The local in system now has just dropped below, just above now, 2,600 pilots. Obviously, with this being Imperium home, I don't expect that to drop far below 2,000, especially with the added amount of super governor pilots that have logged in. And we're just seeing at the top of the screen here a Union fleet from Imperium plus the Jackdaw fleet, and at the very top we are seeing here the Rogue fleet beginning to land. Tie-dye is going to start to decrease as more and more pilots are leaving system.
Right, sorry about the spam. Just want to let you know we have an in-game newspaper, so you don't have to come to our website or even watch our programs. If you want some news, you can get it in-game delivered to you on our TIS News mailing list. Instructions are in chat. Yeah, it's funny. The idea of the newspaper, I keep talking about it because it's new. It's about 2 weeks old. We've put out about 2 weeks worth of reports or editions, and really wanted to wanted to serve the players where they were at rather than call them out to where we want them to be. So this is TIS acknowledging that we're here to serve the players, and we shouldn't ask them to come out and find us. We'll find them, but we want you to sign up so that you can get this, and also refer your court mates to it and pass it around, invite other people to it. We think it's a good idea. One of the things we try to do actually is link up systems. So as we talk about places and people and things, we link them inside the client so that you can click for more information. And I think that makes a huge difference. So it's news with context.
Right, so a recap for those curious, we are now seeing the last PAPI stragglers leaving system. There was an attack on the IHUB, which Imperium successfully defended, as well as a subsequent attack on the online Sunosaur jammer, both of which have not been reinforced. Imperium was able to drive off the PAPI forces, and we've just seen them in the last few moments withdrawing back into T5. So a nice win for the Imperium here, defending their main home system.
Yeah, I feel we have to talk about our color choices between red and blue. Can you discuss how we came to red and blue?
So when I originally set up the camera clients, I was traveling in, and this was in the system of D4. up in Fountain, which was the main focus at the beginning of the war for the Initiative's defense against Panoramic Horde and NC. And I simply asked in local if Initiative wanted to be blue or red for the camera, and they chose red. That is as far as it went in terms of the choosing of the colours. It was just in the D4 system, just randomly asked which colour they wished to be, and they chose the red side.
Yeah, some streamers choose like a light blue and an orange to offset the red and the blue, bias thing or whatever. But it's a lot of work. You have to label each group, and it takes a long time to change.
Yeah, I believe this client.
By the way,
up to
okay.
64 total contacts. So if I was to modify them, it would take 64 modifications.
And someone said traditionally the people defending are blue, and I'm sorry I missed the name. Right here, Murray says tradition dictates blue for defenders, red for attackers. Yes, but if you remember when this war started, there was attacks on both sides. The initial attack came from the Imperium attacking test space after the NIP had dropped. So we didn't know where this fight would be. It could very well have gone the other way with the Imperium attacking legacy space and NCPL leaving the war altogether. So when it started, we really didn't know which way it was going to go.
Yeah. And I believe as well, there have been efforts from likes of Bastion Alliance as well as other alliances within the Imperium that are in fact attacking into Esoteria space, and they are trying to cause disruption for Test Alliance in the back line. So it all would depend on which side of the war we're currently viewing.
Oh, that's a good point too. If we're covering those battles, the colors would need to switch. So
yeah, it allows us to have a single color, so everyone that is able to tune in can just easily recognize we have we don't actually have them up at the moment. We normally have contents, as I see there. They're normally up present, so people can easily tell that the PAPI is the blue and Imperium is red. But it's not from any bias or anything like that. It's literally just I asked in local and I got an answer. So Park says in chat, from the onset of the war, we didn't know how it would go. This is the first for EVE Online. There's never really been a war on this scale, as well as the Imperium here in the. You can see it from the overview. This is all just Imperium structures in one system. If I zoom out, you can get a better understanding. Each of these structures is difficult to take down. There are 3 Keep Stars, 2 Satios, and dozen, I believe it's up to 2 dozen Fortizars just on this one grid.
It literally looks like the heart of the Empire. Thanks for the sub, Top Gunner. If you guys want to help Talking in Stations, give us a thumbs up. Check out our videos, subscribe to them, turn on the reminder so when we publish a video, you get it, get a reminder of it. Those are the kinds of things you can do. And if you want to go even further and really help out Talking in Stations, we have a Patreon. So that is patreon.com/Matterall. And also, of course, subscribe here or subscribe. Well, we don't have anything set up on YouTube yet, but maybe we should. So there you go. That's how you can help.
Yeah, in chat they're putting 40 Fortizars. So yeah, 4 Keep Stars, 40 Fortizars on one grid. This assault has never been seen. This amount of structures in the system has never been seen. So even just the numbers we're seeing, we've broken the record of most pilots in the system. I believe we broke 2 Guinness Book World Records in that one fight. So yeah, this war still could go anywhere at any moment.
I'm still talking shop here, but Parv asked what happened to the move to YouTube. At this point, we're not moving to YouTube because as we were going to move, we had our Eve Echoes show on YouTube because it's a different audience. And we found that people reporting your channel would get your live broadcast completely cut off for hours. So people could interrupt our live coverage and things like that. So we decided to just investigate it further for a while before we let people meta play against our broadcasts. It's just a prudent move.
Yeah. So
we do like YouTube though. We like the commenting there, and we put all our videos there after they're here. Go ahead, Sally.
So I was just going to say, we're beginning to see now tie-dye is beginning to wind down. The numbers are beginning to fall. Currently they're set at 2,200. I would believe a large number of them are Imperium. So I believe that will be the end of fighting for today, at least in this round. But overall today there's been victories on both sides. PAPI Forces was able to finish anchoring and fully online and fit a Keepstar in the edge of Quirius on the Delve side. The system being IHUB Attack N. So that now has a PAPI Keepstar online and fit. And with PAPI Assault on the IHUB of 1DQ, Imperium able to rapidly form a system now over 2,000 pilots. Over 1,300 I believe were engaged at one point. So both sides had a good showing.
Also, we can't ignore the other result this morning. IHUB-1-A Attack N in Aquarius, or Fake Delve as they call it, was the scene where a Keepstar onlined and is now fitted and ready to go on PAPI side.
Yeah, I believe Kaz put in chat that there is an armor timer for Keepstar. I do believe so. However, I am not sure when said target is, or if there are pings on either side. I have absolutely no information on that. I know there was a Keepstar attack yesterday, but I haven't got information on where. If we're able to find out, and if there is any content there, I'll be able to move a camera in place and we can look to bring you that coverage.
All right, looks like one of the combatants today was Vuklao. That is a legendary Eve player, leader of the Northern Coalition back in 2010. He is back, and he is around. We'll try to get him on the show. So Vuklao spotted out there. We also heard Sir Mole was seen in T5Z, I believe. Didn't say much, but was there somewhere. So you're seeing some legendary Eve players that were essentially the forefathers of the game.
Right, so I believe with the fighting now coming to an end, tie-dye is almost completely eradicated. So I believe we'll end the stream there, guys. Thank you very much for joining us on this fight.
One quick announcement, Sully, before you sign off. We will not have a news program today. I will be away unless I can find a substitute among staff. But don't expect coverage of this today. We'll resume tomorrow. Okay, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, so thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and I look forward to bringing you some more war content for the next major form up and fight.
There we go. That's a